between Israel and Hamas documented Nitzan Alon, the commander of the POW or Missing in Action effort, shaking the hands of Qatari Prime Minister Mohammed El Thani just 1 month after the Israeli strike on Hamas leaders in Doha, Qatar. Senior Hamas figures, including Khalil al-Khaya, were also seen in the negotiations room, along with Israeli Strategic Affairs Minister Ron Dermer, hostage envoy Gal Hirsch, U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff, and Turkish representatives. Speaking of senior officials, the Israeli government will convene today to approve the release of Palestinian security prisoners. IDF forces will begin withdrawing to the agreed line. From the moment of approval, a 72-hour clock will start ticking, and by its end, the hostages should all be released. It's important to point out that according to a senior Israeli official, Nukhba terrorists who participated in the October 7th massacre will not be released at this point. But there's still a question about the identity of senior Hamas terrorist leaders who might be released. We'll bring you some more details about this later in the report. But speaking of Hamas, they are presenting the agreement as a victory for them, which is what we've come to expect of them. Iranian officials still boast about their great victory in the 12-day war in June. And for that matter, in Egypt, they still talk about the great victory they won in the 1973 Yom Kippur War, which, by the way, resulted in Israel taking over the entire Sinai Peninsula. And if you ask Israel's enemies, they've decisively defeated Israel in every conflict going back to 1948. To that I say, congratulations, guys, and thanks for sharing. Moving on, Hamas also said that despite their agreement to cease fire in this conflict, they plan on continuing what they call resistance operations against Israel. They also thanked the US and the mediator states, including Qatar, Egypt, and Turkey. And meanwhile, ordinary Gazan residents celebrated the news, with one resident telling a journalist, "We can't believe it, everything here needs to be fixed." On that note, we'll also take a look at some of the plans to rebuild the Gaza Strip. Speaking of plans, President Trump has informed Prime Minister Netanyahu that he accepts his invitation to address the Knesset when he arrives for a visit to the Middle East this coming Sunday. He will be the fourth American president to address the Knesset. However, there's still action in the Gaza Strip, as even in the midst of negotiations, terrorists tried to raid an IDF fortified position in Gaza City, but they were eliminated with no IDF casualties resulting from the incident. In light of this incident and intelligence assessments that there might be rogue elements among the terrorists who are not ready to cease fire even if they are ordered to, IDF Chief of Staff Eyal Zamir has instructed all IDF units in Gaza to prepare in strong defense and be ready for any scenario. We have a lot to talk about today, so Thursday, Israel's Security Cabinet was scheduled to meet to vote started ticking on a 72-hour countdown by which Hamas will be required to release all 20 remaining live hostages without public ceremonies. Hamas has said it is unsure of the whereabouts of 9 sets of remains of hostages who were murdered in captivity, but others which it has control over will likely be returned in the near-term future. Israel will be required to withdraw IDF forces within 24 hours to the withdrawal line agreed with Hamas as part of the plan. And although the line to which the IDF will withdraw has not been publicly revealed, we know that it will leave in control 53% of the Strip's territory, that it guarantees us entry wherever it needed be. God forbid we need to. On Sunday, US President Donald Trump is tentatively scheduled to arrive in Israel to address the Knesset, after declaring on Wednesday evening that it's a great day for the world, the whole world united around this, Israel and every country. It was a fantastic day, a great day for everyone. And meanwhile, an Israeli source said that the deal will not include the release from prison of Nukhba terrorists who took part in the October 7th massacre, nor Marwan Barghouti, Ahmed Sadat, Hassan Salameh, and Abbas el-Sayed, the 4 senior leaders whose release Hamas had demanded. For now, the list of prisoners to be released has not yet been finalized. The Southern Strip. IDF Chief of Staff Eyal Zamir held situational assessments during the night in which he issued guidance to the forces to be prepared for the possibility that Hamas will try to surprise and carry out a show of attack at the end of the war in order to register an achievement or public victory. Another scenario for which the IDF is preparing is that Hamas will try to empty stocks ahead of the entry of the ceasefire and launch rockets, Its rocket capability has been severely damaged in the war, but still exists today. And they might want to fire whatever they have left just before the ceasefire comes into effect. With all of that in mind, the IDF emphasizes that force deployment will be carried out in accordance with the political echelon's directive and the stages of the agreement, with responsibility and maintaining soldier security. In parallel, the Chief of Staff instructed to prepare to lead the operation to return the hostages, expected to begin in the coming days. The IDF spokesperson said, "The IDF will continue to act to realize the war's objectives and defend the citizens of the State of Israel on all fronts." The ceasefire in Gaza, Hamas terrorists have been trying to achieve a tactical victory in order to influence the talks and also to create a narrative that they fought until the last moment and went out in a blaze of glory. On Wednesday evening, terrorists tried to attack and seize an IDF fortified position in Gaza City, but the Golani soldiers deployed in that position fought off the attack with help from the Air Force after the terrorists reached the area of fortification from several directions and tried to infiltrate it. The search for the terrorists who carried out this attack continued for several hours, and in parallel, the Air Force is assisting the ground forces following several detections of terrorists attempting to approach IDF forces in Gaza City. In all of these cases, there were no casualties to our forces, and the IDF has heightened the alertness and focus of the forces out of concern for an event in which the terrorists will try to carry out a show peace action in the Gaza City area in the shadow of the ceasefire talks as Hamas continues attempts to harm and kidnap soldiers. Colonel Avichai Edley issued an unusual message to the residents of the Gaza Strip this week saying, "Important notice to all residents of the Gaza Strip. The area north of Wadi Gaza is still considered a dangerous combat zone. IDF forces continue to encircle Gaza City, and returning to it is extremely dangerous.